Good morning, everybody. Can you all hear me well? All right. What a great keynote this morning. It was fantastic to hear from Malala Yousafzai, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are emotional, coming from that great session. I'm going to try my best to keep you all engaged. It's going to be difficult for me. So today, for the next 45 minutes to an hour, I'm going to be talking about the managed service provider platform that we are building. And I see there's a bunch of partners here and also some customers as well. So as you heard from the keynotes with Pat and also Sanjay, VMware is investing a lot on a lot of cloud services, be it to help you with your public and private clouds, as well as be it to help with your applications and device management. And so all of these services that we are offering from VMware, we are building this platform to enable you to consume these services and provision it for your customers. If there are customers sitting here, this will be what your providers are using to provide these services for you. So with that, let me get into the meat of the session here. So here's the agenda that we will be covering. We'll do a quick look at the cloud market and how VMware cloud providers fit into that market. And then bulk of the session, we'll be talking about Cloud Provider Hub, which is the platform that we are building, which is to some people, you might have heard this by the name Managed Service Provider or MSP platform as well. And I have a lot of the team who's involved in building this platform here. I see Paco, who's architect, Suba, who's the technical product manager, Ashish is the UX designer, and there could be other people in the Amber, who is the go-to-market lead. There's a lot of people involved in this project. They're also in this room. So if I'm not able to cover everything that you want me to, reach out to us after the session. We'll be happy to engage with you and answer your detailed questions. A quick look at the cloud market. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because you all know that multi-cloud is the reality, and it has opened up a lot of opportunities and also choices for enterprises to deploy their workloads from all the way from a private cloud to the public cloud to even the edge. And based on the survey from IDC done last year, we see that 40% of the customers are actually using multi-clouds with an average of 4 vendors supplying them clouds, all right? This is like crazy, right? It's continuing to grow like this way. And this is not an easy journey for the customers. If you look at the enterprise customers, they hear the term public cloud and they immediately want to hey, let me try to get into the public cloud to save some cost or whatever. So there is switching costs, there is re-architecture costs and stuff. And then they want to get into the consolidation journey after that, again to maybe reduce their costs further, consolidating their on-prem with clouds and with public cloud. And slowly they start to see that there is a resource sprawl happening. Similar to back in the days when when we introduced virtualization into the market, we all were dealing with VM sprawl, right? Everybody was just spinning up virtual machines left and right, and nobody knew what was going on. And then more recently, it was the container sprawl. And now actually, there is heavy resource sprawl happening even within the public cloud space. And that's where, customers are looking for, help from, vendors like VMware as well as partners to help with price optimization, resource governance, waste management, and a lot more, right? And this is kind of opening new opportunities for customers to engage with partners and also with VMware to get these kind of services to navigate their multi-cloud journey. And just to reiterate on some of the complexities customers face when they try to manage this multi-cloud environment. So enterprise, obviously they are adopting multi-cloud so that they can keep pace with the digital transformation journey that they are undergoing. And when they adopt multiple different clouds, they are trying to come up with their own tools to monitor, manage the deployments. And what's happening is they're ending up in siloed operations for managing their say AWS environment versus VMware environment versus their some other cloud environment and whatnot. And they're also investing heavily on service integration and management and all of that. And that is the perfect place for why we believe that this multi-cloud opportunity and the challenges has opened a new brave world where the providers are going to dominate. And VMware strongly believes in this, and we want to work with partners and provide you all the capabilities so that you can help the customers to onboard on this multi-cloud journey with providing your skills, your competencies, your scale of operations, and the managed services that you've been successfully offering to your customers. And we will make sure that we provide you the platform and the capabilities to, for you to take to your customers. And if there are customers sitting here in this room, it's, you may resonate to what I'm saying. You've been in this journey, and I'm pretty sure, some of you are in different evolution of this journey, and you're facing all of these problems. You are obviously continuing to work with VMware and your public cloud partner. In addition to that, it's also good to evaluate what the partner community of VMware can bring to you through these products that VMware is offering. So in this multi-cloud journey, there are also some unique, patterns that we are seeing. Traditionally, we had like three key kind of partners that we deal with. And when I say VMware deals with, as well as the end customers actually are also working with these kind of partners. We have solution providers who do a lot of on-prem solutions. They also work on resale, and they do a lot of vertical solutions. And then we have the system integrators who are doing both on-prem as well as hybrid cloud. They help plan, design, and operate the cloud. They help with app transformations. They provide strategic advisory consultation for the customers. And then we have the VMware Cloud Providers, and who have been hosting VMware Cloud in their data centers or in the customer data centers. They are converting the CapEx-heavy method of transaction into an OpEx-based transaction with customers, and you're helping customers, plan and design and operate the environment and offering managed services as well. And what's happening is with the move towards an asset-light deployment models that's available in the industry, more and more proliferation of SaaS models out there, and a demand for subscription-based consumption and application modernization. What's happening is, whether you are a solution provider or a CISO or a VMware Cloud Provider, all of you all are trying to, provide end-to-end customer lifecycle management and offer managed services on top. It's no more the world where you just got your customer, sold him something, and maybe helped him with the initial architecture, and then moved on to something else. Customers are wanting to have a relationship with you, so that you can help them in the whole journey as they are adopting new clouds, coming up with new applications. So that's where it's very important for all the partners to embrace this view around end-to-end customer lifecycle management, and also get into managed services to provide your value on top of what you've already been doing. Many of you are already doing it, but this is an observation that we are seeing as a pattern, and I wanted to call it out. And with that introduction about the cloud market and the value that VMware partners can bring to enterprise customers in this market, I want to kind of dive into what VMware is doing to help the partners deliver these capabilities to your customers in a seamless manner. And that's where we are introducing this, a new platform called Cloud Provider Hub, right? You might have heard this product by the term MSP platform or managed services platform in the past, but we are we are doing a lot of we are introducing a lot of new capabilities, and we are actually beefing up this product big time. And this VMware Cloud Provider Hub, it's a centralized portal to enable you all to transact, deploy, and manage all of VMware as a service offerings, right? When I say VMware as a service offerings, here I've depicted primarily, the VMware Cloud Marketplace, which is a new initiative that we are announcing here. And this is going to help you manage your VMware deployments from a third-party application perspective. be it VMware Cloud on your premise or VMware Cloud on AWS. And also we have the VMware Cloud on AWS, which is an asset-light VMware Cloud option for you. And then we also have the VMware Cloud Services, which Pat talked about it extensively yesterday. We have a slew of services for multi-cloud management. So all of these services are available to you. And VMware Cloud Provider Hub is the central portal through which you can actually do your end-to-end customer lifecycle management and operations, and also deliver these services to your customers and manage the services for your customers. So I'm going to before I go next. So the whole objective of why we're delivering this platform is so that you can seamlessly add your managed services on top. And that's where you bring a lot of unique differentiation and value to your end customers. And we want to make sure that the hub is providing you the capability to easily, seamlessly add your managed services on top. Let's double click on the capabilities of Hub a little bit deeper. So I said that Hub is going to help you with lifecycle management and service management. And when we talk about lifecycle management, Hub is going to. I didn't realize it's only on one side. I just observed to my left, and there's nothing on the screen here. Are you all okay just looking at that screen over there? It's okay? All right. So Hub is going to help you with the commercial transaction model through which you actually purchase these SaaS services from VMware and onboard your customers onto the Hub so that you can provision these services for your customers and also manage support for the customers and also own and control the billing and usage for your customers, all from a single platform. That is the goal from a customer lifecycle management perspective. In addition to that, all of the VMware services that I talked about is going to help you provide some foundation capabilities to offer costing, monitoring, analytics, automation, migration, compliance, governance, security, networking, and more. Actually, there are more services. I just didn't have the real estate in my slide to fit in everything. There is a whole set of services, and I haven't even covered the end-user computing services in this presentation today. But that's also something that is going to be available to you as part of the hub. We will be rolling out those capabilities in a cadence over the next year or so. Once you have all of these capabilities coming from the hub, you can offer your managed services. When I say managed services, let me call out a little bit in detail about what kind of services I'm talking about. I see some partners here who's already been successfully doing managed services. We have partners who are doing services around security and compliance, which is a big demand from customers, especially in this multi-cloud journey. And partners are helping with connectivity. When your customers are wanting multiple clouds, partners are helping with the connectivity across different clouds, all the way reaching into customer data center and beyond. Helping with storage, disaster recovery. I see partners here who have actually successfully been doing disaster recovery solutions for your customers. Backup, that's a big requirement for all the customers. Migration, how do you help migrate the customer's applications from place to place? And operations, that's the key thing, right? You have to make sure that your customers' applications are up and running all the time. So you are helping with operations, day-to-day operations of their infrastructure, operating systems, applications, and everything. And then also giving them the visibility. Your customers want to see what's happening in their environment. So you want to give them visibility around their infrastructure, their costing, and all of that. So all of these are managed services that you can offer. If you're already doing it, awesome. If you want to do this further, you can actually reach out to some of us here, Amber and the team. We have dedicated teams within VMware these are sales teams whose primary objective is to help partners to add more managed services and grow your portfolio leveraging VMware technologies. So it's a quick workflow of how Hub is going to help you provision services for your customers. So let's take an example of two providers, provider A and provider B. I was very creative in my naming. Cloud Provider Hub actually has a concept of consoles for each of the provider. I'm going to repeat the term, use the term console very often, but for all of you, who already have your portals and you don't like VMware to do one more console, we also have every single thing that I'm talking here available as APIs as well. So you're free to use either the UI-based approach that we give you or the API-based approach we give you. But I'm going to use the term console to refer to both API-based or UI-based delivery. So there is provider console, through which, let's say the provider A gets onto the provider console and he wants to onboard customer 1. He can onboard the customer 1 through the hub, and he can expose a customer 1 specific console so that customer 1 can view whatever the provider is provisioning for the customer. In this example, the provider could do like, hey, VMware Cloud on AWS and tie it up with log intelligence so that the customer is able to use the VMware Cloud on AWS for their applications, and also have log intelligence where you can provide your monitoring and incident reporting services. And similarly, you can have one more customer, they get into their customer console, and you can help them manage their AWS environment, providing some cost optimization. So you can do multi-cloud management for your customers by having your customer-centric view in their customer console, and you as a provider get the provider console view for you to manage everything holistically for your customers. So this is a high-level workflow, but I do have some detailed demos and stuff that we have planned here. So you will get to see more as we move forward. A functional overview here. So the purpose of Cloud Provider Hub, as I said, to enable all of the VMware SaaS services. And one thing I want to highlight, you might keep seeing the term VMware Cloud on AWS here because that is one of the as a service product that we have. But everything else like cloud services and marketplace services, they are applicable for any cloud. Okay, it's not only for VMware Cloud on AWS. I have heard partners, over the past couple of days, kind of getting a little bit confused about this message. They think that all of these services are only available for VMware Cloud on AWS. That's not true. These services are available for your on-prem VMware environments, your customer-prem environments, as well as VMware Cloud on AWS and public clouds. And Hub is going to help you with delivering asset-light services that I talked about. So you can publish, subscribe, and control the service lifecycle, and you can also manage the tenant access to the provision services. And you can manage the tenant lifecycle itself. It's a single pane to view all of your tenants, create, edit, and delete the tenants. And you can manage the users and roles, both your provider roles and users, as well as your end customer tenant roles and users. All of it you can do from here. And you can manage the usage and billing, where you can generate and download usage reports for each of your tenant, for each of the service that they're consuming from Hub, so that you can tie it to your billing system and generate bills. And we also have roadmaps to provide sophisticated billing functionalities as well. And you can also do support ticket management, where you can raise support tickets with VMware on behalf of your customers through the single console, so that you can get our VMware support to cater to your customers' SLA demands. So with that, let's see if, kind of dive a little bit deeper into the functional overview. So here is the screenshot of how the Cloud Provider Hub looks. As you can see, this is the provider console, tying back to the slide that I showed earlier. Provider console, where Adam Smith is the admin of this provider called Acme, and he sees that he can do service management, tenant management, identity and access management, billing and subscription, and support center, all from here. And when Adam logs in, he obviously sees a single pane of view for all of the VMware as a service offerings. And whatever Adam has signed up for, they automatically show up here. And Adam can pick whatever service he wants from here and provision for his tenant. And then here we see how, before provisioning a service for tenant, what does Adam have to do? He actually, first manages the tenants. So again, he has a single pane of view to view all of his tenants that he's adding. And he can add, view, and edit these tenants. And he can also provision services for these tenants. So in this case, he's going to provision service for this tenant called Dundee Scranton. I'm a big fan of Office, as you may see. And he's going to manage services for this tenant. So here, when Adam is wanting to deploy services for Dundee Scranton, he kind of switches into the Dundee Scranton's view. You see, it's still Adam Smith on the top right, but he gets into the Dundee Scranton's organization, and he's seeing that these are the services available for provisioning. And he just decided to provision VMware Log Intelligence for this particular tenant. And when he provisions this for the tenant, it doesn't mean that the tenant actually has access to this service. Adam could determine that the tenant should never have access to Log Intelligence because Adam is the one who's doing all the operations and troubleshooting, and the tenant doesn't need to ever see Log Intelligence at all. If that is the case, you can do that. But in this case, if you want to give access to the tenant, you can do it on a granular role-based access, or you can decide not to give any access to your tenant. And this would determine how the tenant user, when he gets into the tenant console, will actually be able to see the service, depending on how the provider decides how the access should be granted to the tenant. And here is a view of how the tenant actually views this in the tenant console. And I've chosen Dwight as my favorite character in Office as the tenant admin here. And when he logs into this tenant console, he sees that Adam has provisioned VMware Log Intelligence, and also Adam has provisioned vSphere. And this vSphere is actually coming from the VMware Cloud on AWS. So Adam actually, in the provider console, opened VMware Cloud on AWS to provision the vSphere SDDC. But Adam did not want the tenant to have direct access to VMC on AWS. So Adam can decide that only the vSphere has to be exposed in the tenant console, and he can do it. And beyond that, Adam can also see per tenant and per service usage. Here you see, for VMware Cloud on AWS, so it starts with VMware Log Intelligence. You see the SKUs for Log Intelligence and the usage and how much is the commit quantity, which is a subscription-based usage versus on-demand-based usage. And you can see all of that in a single pane. And all of this, again, like I said, is available via APIs as well for you to integrate into your billing systems. And last but not the least, the support management. And we all in this room know that VMware does not actually directly interact with the providers or partners and customers. It's a partner who's providing the support for the end customers and partners who's managing the relationship with the end customer. So you may already have your ServiceNow specific or some other support management tools that you're using for your end customers. But when you have to raise support tickets with VMware for any of your tenants, you can use the hub as a single place for you to raise the tickets, where you can actually create a support request by specifying on behalf of which tenant you're creating the ticket and fill out the information, and you can monitor how VMware is acting on your support request from this one single place. That was a lot of information. Sometimes I also tend to speak a little fast. So we will have some questions at the end, but if there's something really burning, important, that's things are not making sense, if I have to stop and answer any of your questions, let me know. Otherwise, we will have a detailed Q&A at the end. Anybody, any strong feedback, anything? Okay. Hey, you're not allowed to ask questions. I'm just kidding. Definitely. So Dan, thanks for the question. Dan's question is, how is the EUC, end user computing portfolio of VMware, like Workspace ONE, Horizon Cloud, etc., how is that going to get tied into this? So when I started this discussion, I said that Hub is the single, I will call it a one-stop shop for partners to consume, transact any of VMware as a service offerings. That includes even end user computing. But today, I'm focusing more on the other services because the end user computing services is something I'll be planning in my roadmap for next year or so. And then we will keep you updated on how we are adding the end user computing portfolio into this, but definitely that's priority for us to add Workspace ONE to be consumable from here and other end user computing products to be consumable from here as well. Yeah. Thanks, Dan. All right, so with that, you saw a little bit of overview about, the hub and what capabilities it has. And I also want to highlight the couple of services that's going to be available to you in the Hub 2.0 version, starting with VMware Cloud on AWS. I mean, you have taken enough sessions on VMware Cloud on AWS. My agenda here is to not talk about what it is, why it's good, or what is the value prop of that. I'm going to talk here with regards to how you as a provider can leverage VMC and AWS for your end customers if you decide to do so. So VMware Cloud on AWS, it's actually opening up an asset-light deployment model for you to complement your already on-prem deployments that you offer to your customers, right? And the beauty is, if you're offering managed services on your on-prem today, and it's very easy to extend that managed services into VMware Cloud and AWS, because it is, at the end of the day, the same SDDC stack of VMware, right? So all the managed services that you're offering on your on-prem, you can easily extend it. So it just gives you an expanded market opportunity to start with, right? If not anything. And you can, help the customers like configure the cluster, network connectivity, storage, and everything. And you can also offer your managed services like virtual machine operations, migration, backup, DR, monitoring, compliance, security, and everything. And your customers can have a self-service consumption model of consuming the SDDC that you're provisioning for them. It just makes it easy for you as well as the customer. And from a use case perspective, you can extend your on-prem offerings with VMware Cloud and AWS for some unique use cases, such as application migration in case of customers who are wanting application modernization. Because VMC on AWS has direct connectivity to AWS in the backend. If your customers have like modernized application requirements with a mix of AWS and VMware in the stack, VMware Cloud and AWS could be a good option for you. And the migration is actually free because of the HCX product that is embedded into the VMware Cloud and AWS offering. And it also helps you with elastic scalability. You saw the demo that Ray was sharing yesterday about how in a DR scenario, the DR happened and he was able to scale the nodes on VMC and AWS quickly in just a matter of time. So those are some of the use cases, and also geographic expansion. When you have to expand to geographies where you don't have the footprint today, VMC on AWS is a good option. And let's get into another service that we are introducing with Cloud Provider Hub 2.0, which is the VMware Log Intelligence. How many of you heard of Log Intelligence in the room here? Okay, quite a few of you. All right. So before I get into the Log Intelligence, just want to say, so the availability of all of these cloud services on VMware Cloud Services on the hub helps you not to actually stand up dedicated infrastructure to run these management software. It's customers may come to you for having a dedicated IaaS environment because there are use cases for that. But for management infrastructure, some of you are already rising up you have your infrastructure stack to run management software, which is good. You continue to do that. But if you want to have like an asset-light management services delivery, VMware Cloud Services is an excellent option for you. And the beauty is these services are designed to work on multiple endpoints, including vSphere, vCloud Director. Any vCloud Director user here? Quite a few, yeah. So these services are designed to work on vSphere, vCloud Director, VMware Cloud on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Platform, and native AWS as well. And Log Intelligence specifically, what it can help you do is do centralized log collection and analytics for multi-cloud deployments of multiple of your customers. So I'll give an example. I was talking to a solution provider maybe a few weeks back, and that solution provider is kind of slowly getting into the managed services evolution. And he was very excited to hear about Log Intelligence because he said he's offering multi-cloud incident response and monitoring service for their customers. And he liked the fact that Log Intelligence can be run or the analytics data collection can be performed from all of these endpoints into a single central place, so that his support teams, L1 and L2 support teams, can actually have this aggregated view of all the logs coming from all the customers, from all the deployments in a single place, for him to dive deeper to provide troubleshooting for the customers. And also, additional thing is he can also push appropriate dashboards and customer-specific views that he wants the customers to see into the customer tenant console view of Cloud Provider Hub. So from the provider console, he can have a centralized view of all the logs. In the tenant console, he can decide to only push out tenant-specific dashboards and information for the tenants to benefit. That way, you don't have to send periodic reports over emails and stuff, and your tenant obviously loves visibility. So it'll be good to have the customer relationship by doing something like this, and also it'll ease your support operations capabilities by having consolidated log collection at one single place. And these are like kind of a little bit deeper in some of the use cases for log intelligence. It helps with, if you're already using VMware Cloud on AWS, it helps with audit log collection and reporting in real time. It also it acts as a single pane of glass for a broad range of applications, not only VMware Cloud and AWS applications, but also native EC2-based applications. And I also already mentioned that you can extend it to on-prem SDDC troubleshooting as well. So you can identify whatever problems are happening in your on-prem SDDC involving vCenter, NSX, vSAN, and the whole stack, and provide support as soon as you have to for your customers. So this is a view of log intelligence from the Cloud Provider Hub. This is a provider console where the provider is configuring log intelligence as a centralized log collection service for all of the tenants, for all the deployments. So the provider is able to get centralized log views, centralized alerts, centralized troubleshooting and analysis, and centralized dashboards. And you can actually see this is a dashboard view where the provider is getting dashboards. Specifically, he has created a dashboard for each and every tenant, and he's able to see all of it from a single place. And some of the tenants are on vSphere, some are on VMC, some are on AWS, some are on VCD. It's across the board. And this is a tenant-specific view where the provider is configuring a tenant-specific view of log intelligence so that he can push appropriate dashboards to the tenant so that the tenant can have a view of their activities and reports. And this is another, he's pushing a different dashboard for a different tenant. In this case, the tenant is using vSphere, VMC, as well as AWS. And I don't know why there's no results on the AWS thing. It could be some demo issue that we had. Okay. So with that, we talked about VMware Cloud and AWS and log intelligence, which are going to be part of the VMware Cloud Provider Hub 2.0. A marketplace, I'm talking about it as a preview. I have Hari from the marketplace team here. If you have some specific questions, you can ask him later. Hari, there are also sessions for marketplace scheduled over the next couple of days, right? Okay. So marketplace, it is designed to, we are building a marketplace so that we can host some third-party applications which are already validated on any VMware environments, be it VMware clouds in your data center, your customer data center, or VMware Cloud on AWS. And we're going to bring a whole suite of marketplace services, such as backup and disaster recovery products, endpoint security products, network security products, development tool products, storage products, and a whole slew of other marketplace services that you will see here. And you can use Hub as a single place to consume marketplace services, manage your tenants and their users, and subscribe to these services and auto-deploy these services for your tenants and manage their usage and view dashboards of all their usage and everything from a single place. And you can also expose the tenant console of the Hub to your end customers so that they can consume the marketplace services that you are deploying for them, provisioning for them, and also give them some usage dashboards as well. So it just makes it easy for you to deliver your managed services. Everything ties back to how you can deliver managed services simpler, right? These are some of the things that marketplace will deliver from a functionality perspective. You can discover services, and the second thing is very key. I've been a provider in the past. I know how difficult it is to tie all the versions of VMware stack and figuring out which third-party product is going to work on which VMware stack and which one is not. So VMware is going to do the job for you. It's an end-to-end validated stack. We also will validate that version of the marketplace service available, hosted for you here, is validated on the VMware stack so that you can easily go and provision it for your deployments. It's convenient. It's also automated deployment. You should be able to deploy just with a click of a few buttons. And it's hybrid cloud. All VMware clouds are supported. So, I try to cover some little information about marketplace here, but I'm not sure whether Larry is also in the room. but Larry and Hari, they're having sessions. Go attend those sessions to understand more about Marketplace. So with that, this is kind of a summary of all the services that we have. And Dan, to your point, I also highlighted the end-user computing products here. So we have products for runtime environments, VMware Cloud and AWS, Kubernetes. I don't want to talk about Kubernetes anymore because you've been hearing so much today morning, yesterday. And managed cloud management and operations. With Log Intelligence is one of the first services that we are introducing into the hub. You will see, Cost Insight, Cloud Assembly, Code Stream, and Service Catalog. These are all around cloud automation and CI/CD pipeline management. And then you have Network Insight. Many of you are familiar with the vRealize Network Insight that you're using on-prem. That's available as a service that will be added to hub. HCX. This is already available to some of the partners through a different MSP channel. It's not the hub, but the hub's motive is to bring all of the services through this consumable from the single place. Some of you may be consuming HCX and say even Workspace ONE from a different MSP channel with VMware. Continue to do that, but as and when we are rolling things into hub, it'll just make your jobs easier. All right, with that, perfect time. I have 23 minutes, so I'll get on to the demo. So here's the demo setup. So Acme is the provider, and Acme is hosting a vCloud director-based cloud for his tenant, and Beacon is one of his tenant, and Beacon is a consumer of the vCloud director tenant environment, and Convo is another tenant. Convo is currently having a vSphere-based cloud that the provider is hosting. And Cloud Provider Hub, from the provider org, you can go and create, an Acme org and add Adam as an admin. And then you can create tenant orgs specific to each of the tenant, one tenant org for the Beacon customer here, one tenant org for the Convo customer. And once you have the tenant org, you can spin up a VMC on AWS from Hub itself. And then you can provision Log Intelligence for the tenant orgs as well as the provider org, and be able to collect all the logs seamlessly into a single place and also push the logs to the tenant-specific views. And all of this is something we already done in the pre-canned demo. We will show it to you. And the bulk of the demo will be on this new tenant, Dundee, that is going to be added. Right? We will create a new tenant called Dundee. He already has a vSphere-based cloud and an AWS-based cloud. And we will create the tenant org and add this Dundee as a new tenant, and we will also provision the VMware Cloud on AWS, and we will connect the Log Intelligence for Dundee end-to-end. And there's also the Marketplace demo, which I'm not going to show here, but there is a Solution Exchange booth where we are showing that, so you can go there and look at that. So with that, let me go to the demo and show you here the demo. Hold on. Number 4. Perfect. All right. So by the way, Subha, could you stand up? Subha has done a lot of work in building this demo. I'm just here presenting it. She's done all the hard work. Thank you, Subha. So here, when Adam from Acme, he signs the commit contract, which is a method of payment transaction between the partner and VMware. Once the commit contract is signed, he gets an email with a link, and when he clicks on the link, he gets into this sign-on page, and he enters his credentials. And he is immediately directed to VMware Cloud Provider Hub. So here, Adam is in Cloud Provider Hub, and you can see that there are no services provisioned yet, but however, he sees that he has signed commit contract for VMware Cloud on AWS and Log Intelligence and Marketplace, so those are available to him for provisioning. And he can decide to now, say, provision a service. It's difficult to coordinate, a pre-recorded demo with what you want to say. Okay, so he is deciding I want to provision VMC in AWS. So first time he has to open it. When he opens it, it automatically activates the service in the backend. And there you go. It is going to be available for you. So now it's a services provision for you. Now you can actually open a VMC in AWS and actually create SDDC Very simple. That's kind of what you have to do. Now he can also go to identity and access management to create new users who he wants to manage this environment for managing the customers and managing the provisioning and everything. And he gets into the tenant management. Here he sees that there are already 2 tenants he has created. And in this demo example, we'll have him create a new tenant, the Dundee Scranton tenant. So he's going to go to add tenant. Wow. It's just slowly moving. Okay, now there you go. He's moved to add tenant. And here he sees the screen where he enters the information about tenant. And he can decide whether the tenant is like an actual external customer or you just want to have an internal org for your own internal POC purposes. So he can click on, fill out the appropriate information, and then he can add the tenant as part of his hub provider view. Yeah. So he adds the tenant. Okay, there you go. So now he's back into the tenant management console, and he sees that the tenant that he just created, Dundee Scranton, it's already added to this tenant view. So he can have a consolidated view of all his tenants anytime. And we are also working on building, helping build dashboards and stuff for you to look at all the tenants and everything. And when the tenant Dwight from Dundee, he gets into the tenant console and he looks at it, he sees that there is no service provision for him. Because only the tenant org was created, there's no service provision. So this is the view he sees when the first time he gets in. And then now Adam decides that, hey, I'm going to provision some service for Dundee. So he will have to, go click on Dundee tenant here in the bottom, and then the managed services activated. So he can click on managed services, click continue, and now he will be navigated into the Dundee Scranton's organization. We have a concept of organization, master org and tenant orgs in the hub architecture. So he now gets into the tenant organization, and there you can see on the right corner, Adam Smith from Acme organization. Now he has moved to Dundee Scranton, and now when he's here, he sees that hey, there is no service provision for Dundee Scranton yet. However, these are services available to provision. So now Adam can decide that okay, I'm going to provision say log intelligence and VMC on AWS. So he can start doing it. Just with a few click of buttons here. He clicks on open for log intelligence, and that activates the service for the tenant now. And that will be available for provisioning for Dundee Scranton. There you go. And now he can decide how Dundee Scranton's users should also be able to access this service. Here's where he's able to manage the tenant access. He can decide no access, or he can decide like, hey, I want to give admin access for log intelligence for my tenant. It's up to you to determine how you want to give access. And then he now decides to activate VMC on AWS as well. He opens it, it activates service for the first time. Yep, and there it's going to be available for him for provisioning now, similar to the way log intelligence was available for him. And so now you see, Dundee has got VMC and AWS as well. For VMC and AWS, the provider has decided that the tenant should only have vSphere access and not anything else. No VMC specific access. So he just decides, hey, give the tenant vSphere access only, and also send an email to the tenant saying that he has got access to the service and confirm. And that's pretty much the management aspect of what he can do with the services. And after which he can actually decide to get into each and every service to create SDDC or configure the lint log intelligence endpoints, etc. So I think in this demo we're going to see him actually provisioning VMC and AWS for this tenant Dundee. So he opens VMC and AWS. This is something you might have already seen in VMC demos and other places. So you can just get in there, create an SDDC for your customer, choose the name of the SDDC, and decide whether it's a single host or a multi-host. And it already populates the host capacity, etc. And you click next. You click next, and you can connect to the AWS native account in the backend of your customer. You can create the native account by yourself, or you can use the customer's AWS account. And you can enter the CIDR block information if you have to, otherwise you can ignore it. And you can deploy it, and it takes an hour or something to deploy, yeah. And there you go, you have the SDDC provisioned here, deployed here. It shows the dashboard view of the CPU and memory and storage. You can, now, getting back into the Dundee Scranton's tenant console, you see that the vSphere that we just provisioned, it's actually visible to the tenant in the tenant console. Because the tenant was only given vSphere access, not VMC access, not VMware Cloud and AWS access. So the tenant can click on the vSphere from the tenant console, and it automatically populates the credentials that we retrieve from the SDDC. And he can open vCenter with just a click of a button. The tenant can open the vCenter, and he can see that this is available for him. So the tenant can start provisioning virtual machines and consuming this vCenter. All, just like a few click of buttons from one single place. It's very easy. And now we get into the other functionality, which is around billing and subscription. The Adam from Acme, he is getting into the provider console, and he's seeing, the billing view. He can select which organization he wants to see the usage for, and he can also select the period from when to when he wants to see the usage, and he can also confirm what kind of payment method is associated here. Here is the commit contract that was associated with this particular organization, so he sees that information as well. And this is all the usage information that I talked about. It's available in API, so you can feed it into your billing systems to generate bills for your customers. But periodically, if you just want to have a look at the usage, you can just come here and see how your tenants are using the product. And we will also help provide dashboard views for you in future, so that you can have a timeline graphical view of how the usage has been growing up or down, etc., for you to manage your customer interactions and relationship. And then we go to the support center, which is the last big functionality of Hub, where it's a single place for you to see all of the support requests that you created on behalf of your tenants with VMware. So here you see that you have created some tickets, for Beacon and Convo, who are your customers, and you see the status of the support tickets. And you can also provide some internal ticket identification to connect this with your internal ServiceNow tickets if you are using ServiceNow or something. And you can also, type keywords to query our knowledge base to get ready-made answers for some of the popular, questions that you may have when you have to support your customers. And you can create a support request. So here I'm showing an example of, Adam creating a support request for this Dundee tenant, and he creates a, he calls out a VPN failure or some information around the support requirement he needs, and he submits the ticket. And there you go. Ooh, where is it? It's going to come. Okay. So there you go. You see the new ticket that has been created. It's available. It's open, being worked. And when its status is updated, you'll be, able to see that status update as well from here. And so that is a quick demo. Let me get back to here. All right, so we have 11 minutes. I think it's almost good timing. So I want to open the floor for questions. And I'm also going to take help from my colleagues here in case I'm not having all the answers for you. So you can actually, I request you to come to the microphone and ask your questions, because this session is being recorded. I believe the team wanted everything to be spoken on the microphone. All right. You're not leaving, right? You're asking a question. Yeah. Good. Okay.
So if you've got existing AWS stuff set up or Azure stuff set up and you connect it to them, will it just look at what's already provisioned and bring it into the provider hub for you to manage versus just provisioning a brand new one?
Yeah, so the question is, if you already have infrastructure provision on AWS or Azure, how can you bring the visibility into the hub? So the visibility you can bring in by the VMware Cloud Services that is available as part of hub. Different cloud services have different functionalities. You can, there are there are some of the cloud services like the costing solutions that we have. You can, and discovery solutions that we have. You can discover all the resources and pull them in. And you can use a product like what's called Secure State, which is kind of coming in future to create security compliance policies for those resources you're discovering. And you can use our product called Cloud Automation. Pat was announcing it yesterday, through which you can actually create blueprints and actually provision resources across AWS and VMware deployments, so that you don't have to actually go to a different console, but be able to use this hub and cloud automation for pushing the blueprints, cloud visibility, discovery and costing solutions for discovering what's going on, log intelligence for collecting the monitoring. So all of this you can do from a single place, even if you already have an existing AWS environment with active running resources.
To tag along to that question, so if the customer is already a VMC or an AWS customer, and then wants to come under a service provider, how does that work?
Yeah, so if the customer is already a VMware Cloud and AWS customer and wants to move to a private cloud SDDC based in the provider cloud, totally you can use our migration products to migrate from VMware Cloud back to your provider cloud.
Just to clarify that, how do we bring that customer under the hub so that now a MSP can manage that?
Yeah, okay. So good question. So today, the hub, as I'm showing, it is from an infrastructure visibility perspective, everything is happening through the cloud services, and specifically you're also able to see VMware Cloud and AWS as an endpoint because that is a service that we offer. But your question is, how can I view my vSphere environment that I'm hosting for this customer and also be able to view it directly under hub instead of having to go somewhere else? So this is something, is on our vision, Midun. We are thinking about it. Some of you are participating in the Partner Advisory Council tomorrow. I want to hear these kind of feedback more, so that I want to make sure that, hub is, being the single place for you all, for the partners to even manage their on-prem, deployments as well. So what are the capabilities that we need to introduce to make it happen? I want your, suggestions, guidelines, and advice to make sure I trigger, I do the roadmap the right way. Yeah.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
So on the cloud provider hub, the identity is my VMware account, right? So do you have anything on the roadmap where the cloud provider identities can be used to log in?
Definitely, yeah. We have identity federation in the roadmap. It's actually already available, in a way, but we will be exposing it in a subsequent release after 2.0. It is a high priority in our roadmap. Yes. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? And this is none. If any of my VMware colleagues here, do you want to add anything more to what we just discussed here? Anything that, go ahead, you have a question?
I know this Cloud Hub is only for the service provider, just like us, the VCPP provider, or you can using for the enterprise customer.
That's right. It is for the providers so that you can deliver all your services to your enterprise customers. That's right, yeah. So enterprise customers, they have their own platform to consume VMware Cloud Services directly from VMware, but this is specifically designed for providers so that you can consume the VMware Cloud Services and deliver to your end customers. Okay. All right, I have 5 more minutes. If there are no questions, we will be hanging out here. Feel free to drop in and ask questions. And also, go to the Solution Exchange where there are some really good demos, more detailed demos on the log intelligence aspects where I talked about the central monitoring and distributed dashboards and all. There is a fantastic demonstration that you can see in the Solution Exchange VMware booth as well. All right, thank you so much for participating. Have a good rest of the day.